Imagine this, it's 1937 in America, a time we often look back on with a certain nostalgia. But in the quiet rural town of Sneedville, Tennessee, something happened that would shock the nation. A 9-year-old girl named Eunice Winstead told her parents she was going out to get a new doll. Instead, she walked to a local preacher's house and married her 22-year-old neighbor, a tobacco farmer named Charlie Johnsand. This wasn't a secret ceremony for long. Within weeks, their story was splashed across the pages of Life magazine, the New York Times and others, turning a local event into a national scandal. How could this happen? And what became of the 9-year-old bride? Today, we're delving into the unsettling true story of Eunice Winstead and Charlie Johnsand, a marriage that forced America to confront its own laws and beliefs about childhood. The wedding itself was a stark affair. On January 19, 1937, Charlie Johnsand paid Baptist preacher Walter Lamb $1 to perform the ceremony. To get the marriage license, Charlie lied about Eunice's age. At the time, this was shockingly easy to do because Tennessee had no minimum age for marriage. While both of their mothers initially thought Eunice was too young, they eventually gave their consent. In fact, child marriage wasn't entirely unheard of in their community. Eunice's own mother had married at 16 and her older sister Ina married at just 13. To the families, particularly the Winsteads, the marriage seemed to offer a form of security. As the Knoxville Journal reported, they were complacent over the future of the 9-year-old bride, because Charlie, the bridegroom, owns 50 acres of mountain land, several mules, and he's a good farmer. It was a pragmatic, if deeply disturbing view of a child's future. The media firestorm that followed was intense. Reporters from across the country descended on Sneedville. Life magazine published a now infamous photo of the young Eunice standing beside her much older husband at their home. Newsweek ran another photo showing her sitting on his knee. The story was so sensational it even inspired a film called Child Bride the following year. Charlie Johnsand, however, was not interested in the fame or the scrutiny. He largely avoided the media, accusing reporters of making things up and fiercely protecting his family from photographers. He wanted to be left alone, but the world was now watching. The public outcry was immediate and widespread. People were horrified. How could a 9-year-old girl be legally married? The story wasn't just a bizarre local tale. It was a mirror held up to the nation's own outdated and inconsistent laws. The public pressure worked, at least in Tennessee. In response to the national attention on Eunice and Charlie's marriage, the state legislature moved quickly. They passed a new law setting the minimum age of marriage at 16, even with parental consent. There were exceptions, of course, like in cases of pregnancy, but it was a significant step forward. It's hard to believe, but at the time only a few other places like Minnesota, Rhode Island, and Washington, D.C. had similar age restrictions. The marriage of a 9-year-old girl had effectively forced a legal change. But what about Eunice herself? The new law wasn't retroactive. She remained legally married to Charlie Johnsand. Her life was now irrevocably tied to his. What does a 9-year-old married girl's life look like? For Eunice, it meant the end of her childhood. She attended school for just 2 days after the wedding. When she was punished for misbehaving, as any child might, her husband pulled her out for good. The state even amended its compulsory education laws to exempt married children, effectively closing the door on her education. She and Charlie lived with his parents, sharing a room together. Her life became one of domesticity long before she was ready. 5 years after her wedding, at the age of 14, Eunice gave birth to their first child, a daughter named Evelyn. Over the years, she and Charlie would go on to have 8 more children, for a total of 9. She was a mother before she was even a legal adult. One of the most ironic twists in this story came years later. In 1960, Eunice's oldest daughter, Evelyn, was now 17. She decided to elope with her 20-year-old boyfriend, John Antrican. Her father, Charlie Johnsand, was furious. He went to the authorities, alleging that Antrican had lied about Evelyn's age on the marriage license to get it approved, the very same thing he had done with Eunice 23 years earlier. It's a staggering moment of hypocrisy that shows just how complex and contradictory human behavior can be. He, who had married a child, was now trying to prevent his own teenage daughter from marrying a young man. The man who had once been the center of a national scandal for marrying a 9-year-old now saw himself as a protective father. Eunice and Charlie's marriage, born from poverty and legal loopholes, lasted a lifetime. They remained together for 60 years, a duration that is almost unbelievable given its origins. Their life was lived far from the media spotlight that had briefly consumed them. They raised their 9 children in the mountains of Tennessee, living a quiet, rural existence. Charlie Johnsand passed away in 1997, and Eunice Winstead, the girl who became a bride at 9, passed away in 2006. She lived to be 78 years old. Her story remains a powerful and unsettling chapter in American history. It's a reminder of a time, not so long ago, when the concept of childhood was vastly different and far less protected than it is today. It forces us to ask difficult questions about poverty, tradition, and the laws that are meant to protect the most vulnerable among us. The story of Eunice Winstead isn't just a historical curiosity. It highlights the long and ongoing fight to protect children. Even today, child marriage remains a serious issue in many parts of the world, and even within the United States, loopholes in marriage laws still exist in some states. The public outrage in 1937 helped spur change, showing that when people pay attention and demand action, laws can be improved. Eunice's story is a stark reminder that progress is not always a straight line, and the rights and protections we often take for granted were fought for, sometimes because of stories just as shocking as this one. It's a somber legacy, but an important one to remember. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as compelling as I did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into forgotten history. Let us know your thoughts on this story in the comments below. We'll see you in the next video.